What if the most financially liberating decision you could make in 2026 was not a stock pick, not a career change, and not a side hustle, but building your own home from materials that the world has already thrown away? I'm not talking about a glorified shed. I'm not talking about a tent platform with a composting toilet. I am talking about a structurally sound, thermally stable, fully functional off-grid home with running water, electricity, and enough insulation to stay comfortable year-round, built for under $20,000 using recycled and reclaimed materials that in most cases cost you nothing but your time. Now, before you click away thinking this sounds like a fantasy, I want to be completely clear about something. The $20,000 number is real. It is achievable. I have talked to people who have done it. But it comes with conditions that most content creators conveniently leave out, and those conditions are exactly what this video is going to give you straight. Because the people who go into this kind of build without understanding those conditions are the ones who run out of money halfway through, end up with a structure that does not perform the way they expected, and spend the next several years trying to fix problems that honest information up front would have prevented. I'm going to give you the real picture, the real strategies, the real material sources, the real systems, and the honest assessment of what it takes to actually pull this off for under $20,000 in 2026. Stay with me until the end because the final section of this video reveals the single most overlooked factor that determines whether this kind of build succeeds or fails, and it has nothing to do with construction skills. If you are someone who is genuinely exploring alternative paths to homeownership and you want honest, practical, current information rather than just inspiration, this channel is where you belong. Subscribe right now and hit the notification bell because I put out content every week that covers the real numbers and real decisions behind off-grid and alternative building in 2026. Now let us get into how this actually works. The honest conditions you need to understand first. Before I give you a single strategy or material source, I need to lay out the conditions under which the $20,000 number is achievable, because this is where most guides fail you by omission. Condition 1 is land. The $20,000 figure does not include land. If you do not already own land or have access to land, your total project cost goes up by whatever land costs in your chosen area. Suitable land for off-grid building in regions with favorable climates, which means good solar access, some annual rainfall, and reasonable growing seasons, ranges from $5,000 to $30,000 per acre in 2026 depending on the state and the specific parcel. Some states like West Texas, parts of New Mexico, and rural areas of the Appalachians still have genuinely affordable land in the $5,000 to $15,000 range for a usable parcel. If you do not factor this in, you will be blindsided. Condition 2 is your labor. The $20,000 figure assumes that you are the primary builder. You are doing the tire packing, the plastering, the basic carpentry, the systems installation to the extent permitted by your jurisdiction, and the coordination of every phase of the project. If you need to hire contractors for major phases of the work, your cost goes up significantly and the $20,000 number becomes unrealistic. Condition 3 is time. A build of this type does not happen in a weekend or even in a summer. Realistic timelines for a motivated owner-builder working part-time while maintaining another income source range from 12 to 30 months from first shovel to move-in. If you are planning to quit your job and build full-time, that is a faster path, but it eliminates the income you need to fund ongoing material purchases. Condition 4 is regulatory environment. The $20,000 build is most achievable in jurisdictions with minimal or no building code enforcement, typically unincorporated rural land in states with light regulatory frameworks. In jurisdictions requiring full building permits and engineering stamps for alternative construction, permitting costs alone can add $5,000 to $15,000 to your project. With those conditions on the table, let us get into how it is actually done. Choosing the right building system for a $20K build. Not every off-grid building approach is compatible with a $20,000 budget. The construction system you choose determines your material costs more than any other single decision. Here are the systems that are most compatible with the $20,000 target. The Earthship-inspired tire wall system is the most commonly used approach for very low-budget builds because its primary structural material, used car tires, is free. Tire shops across the country are paying to dispose of used tires and will gladly let you haul them away at no charge. The thermal mass of compacted earth-filled tire walls is exceptional, keeping interiors stable year-round without mechanical heating or cooling in appropriate climates. The material cost for the walls themselves is essentially zero. The costs come in the other systems that wrap around the tire walls. Cob construction is another extremely low-cost option. Cob is a mixture of clay soil, sand, and straw that is worked by hand into thick sculptural walls. If your building site has suitable clay soil, the material cost for cob walls is nearly zero. Cob homes are beautiful, highly insulated, and have extraordinary longevity in dry climates. The labor intensity is high and cob is not appropriate in wet climates without significant roof overhang and waterproofing attention, but for builders in dry regions with suitable soil it represents one of the lowest cost structural systems available. Straw bale construction uses agricultural straw bales as the primary insulation material, either as the structural element itself or as infill within a simple timber frame. Straw bales are an agricultural byproduct that are frequently available at very low cost or free from farms after harvest. The thermal performance of straw bale walls is remarkable, with R values in the range of R30 to R45 depending on bale orientation and thickness. The material cost for the bales themselves in most agricultural regions runs $1 to $3 per bale, and a small home requires 200 to 300 bales. Hybrid approaches combining these systems are also common and practical. A tire wall on the north side providing thermal mass and earth sheltering, with cob or straw bale on the south and east and west sides providing insulation, can optimize both thermal performance and cost within a single build. Sourcing recycled materials. Where to get everything. This is the section that makes or breaks the $20,000 budget. Your ability to source quality recycled and reclaimed materials determines how much of your budget goes to materials and how much remains available for the systems and components that cannot be obtained for free. Tires are the easiest free material to source in most of the country. Call every tire shop within reasonable driving distance of your build site. Explain that you are using them for construction. In 2026, tire shops are paying disposal fees for used tires, and many are enthusiastic about a builder who will haul them away for free. Target between 500 and 1,000 tires for a small home of 600 to 900 square feet. Collect them over several months before you break ground. Glass bottles and aluminum cans are used in Earthship-inspired construction for non-structural infill walls and decorative elements. Bars, restaurants, and recycling centers are your sources. Establish relationships with a few local businesses and collect steadily over several months before you need them. Reclaimed lumber is available from multiple sources in most regions. Building demolition contractors are required to dispose of lumber from demolished structures, and many are delighted to have someone take it off their hands rather than paying to haul it to a landfill. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and local salvage yards also regularly list reclaimed lumber at prices far below new lumber costs. In 2026, new dimensional lumber prices remain elevated and the savings from reclaimed sourcing are significant. Windows and glazing are potentially your biggest single material expense if you purchase them new, and your biggest opportunity for savings if you source them creatively. Building demolition projects, Habitat for Humanity restores, window replacement companies that pull out old windows when installing new ones, and commercial building renovations are all reliable sources for used double-pane windows in good condition. In 2026, restore locations across the country routinely stock double-pane windows at $10 to $40 per unit. A complete south-facing passive solar wall for a small home typically requires 15 to 25 windows. Sourcing these from restores rather than purchasing new can save $3,000 to $8,000. Metal roofing panels are available from agricultural suppliers as seconds and from farms replacing old barn roofs. A usable corrugated steel roof for a small home can often be found for $500 to $1,500 through agricultural salvage. Insulation materials include sheep's wool from farmers, cellulose insulation made from recycled newspapers that is inexpensive even when purchased new, and rigid foam panels salvaged from commercial building renovations. Designing for the $20K budget. Your design decisions determine your material quantities, your system complexity, and ultimately your total cost. Every design choice either opens or closes the budget gap, and first-time builders almost always make design choices that close it in the wrong direction. Keep the footprint small. A well-designed 600 to 800 square foot home can accommodate 1 or 2 adults in genuine comfort if the spatial layout is intelligent. Every additional square foot adds tire count, adds roofing area, adds glazing area, and adds finishing time. The $20,000 target is most achievable in the 600 to 800 square foot range. Designs that creep toward 1,200 square feet push the budget toward $30,000 to $40,000. Maximize south-facing orientation. Aligning your building's longest axis east to west and positioning most of your glazing on the south face is not optional in a budget build. It is the strategy that eliminates or dramatically reduces your heating and cooling costs for the life of the building. In a climate with decent winter sun, a correctly oriented passive solar design keeps interior temperatures comfortable year-round without any mechanical heating or cooling system. Eliminating that system saves you $3,000 to $8,000 in equipment cost and eliminates a utility bill forever. Use a simple roof. A single-slope shed roof is faster to build, requires less lumber, and presents fewer opportunities for leaks than a complex multi-pitch roof. For a budget build, a simple shed roof sloping from the higher south face down to the north is both structurally rational and practically efficient. Avoid underground plumbing complexity. Design your kitchen, bathroom, and gray water system so that drainage flows by gravity in the simplest possible routing. Complicated plumbing runs add materials, add labor, and add failure points. The simpler your waste and water routing, the lower your plumbing cost and the easier the system is to maintain. The essential systems and their real costs. For systems make a structure a home rather than a shelter: water, waste, electrical, and thermal comfort. Here is the honest 2026 cost picture for each. Water. A rainwater harvesting system for a small off-grid home consists of a metal roof catchment surface, collection gutters, a first flush diverter, buried cistern storage, and a simple filtration system. A used 2,000 to 3,000 gallon polyethylene cistern runs $600 to $1,200. Gutters and first flush diverter are $200 to $400 in materials. A 3-stage filtration system providing sediment removal, UV sterilization, and carbon polishing for drinking water runs $400 to $800. A 12-volt pump and pressure system runs $200 to $400. Total water system for a small home, $1,500 to $3,000. Waste. A quality composting toilet runs $900 to $1,800 for a unit that handles a 1 to 2 person household without odor or maintenance problems when correctly installed. The botanical cell gray water garden that processes sink and shower water runs $300 to $800 in materials. Total waste system, $1,200 to $2,600. Electrical. An off-grid solar system appropriately sized for a small efficient home in 2026 consists of 4 to 6 400-watt panels, a modest lithium battery bank providing 2 to 3 days of autonomy, a charge controller, and an inverter. Total equipment cost for a system powering LED lighting, phone and laptop charging, a small efficient refrigerator, and a water pump, $3,500 to $6,500 before the 30% federal tax credit. After the tax credit, $2,400 to $4,500. This is the most significant cash expense in the entire build, and there is no way to eliminate it entirely if you want electricity. Thermal comfort. If your passive solar design is correctly executed and your site has good winter sun, your thermal comfort system consists of an emergency wood stove for extended cloudy periods in winter and natural ventilation for summer cooling. A quality wood stove runs $500 to $1,500 installed. This is dramatically cheaper than any mechanical heating and cooling alternative. The complete 20K budget breakdown. Here is the honest line-by-line picture for a 600 to 800 square foot off-grid home built from recycled materials in 2026. Site preparation and foundation, $1,500. Tires, $0. Tire wall tools and cob infill materials, $800. Roof framing lumber reclaimed, $800. Metal roofing reclaimed or new, $1,200. South-facing windows from Restore, $600. Rainwater system complete, $2,000. Composting toilet and gray water system, $2,000. Solar system after tax credit, $3,500. Wood stove, $800. Earthen plaster and finish materials, $600. Electrical wiring and components, $500. Miscellaneous fasteners, sealants, and tools, $800. Contingency buffer, $800. Total, approximately $19,000. That number assumes free tires, reclaimed lumber, restore windows, and an aggressive salvage approach to every material category. It also assumes you are doing all the unskilled labor yourself and paying for licensed professional work only where required. It is achievable, but it requires serious effort at sourcing. The most overlooked factor that determines success or failure. Here is what I promised you at the beginning of this video, and it is the most important thing I'm going to say. The single most overlooked factor in whether a $20,000 off-grid build succeeds is not construction skills. It is not access to materials, it is not the design, and it is not even the budget. It is community. Building a home from recycled materials on a tight budget while learning unfamiliar skills at every phase is not a solo endeavor. The people who complete these builds successfully almost always have a network of people who are engaged with the project. Not just volunteers who show up to help pack tires on a weekend, although that is genuinely important. But people in their lives who understand why they are doing it, who support the vision, who help problem solve when things go wrong, who show up when the weather is bad and the work is discouraging, and who celebrate when a milestone is reached. The people who fail at this kind of build usually fail not because they ran out of money or encountered a problem they could not solve. They fail because they got isolated in the middle of a long, difficult project with no support system, and the attrition of sustained effort without community wore them down. Before you buy your first tire or call your first building department, build your community first. Find the people who understand this path. Connect with Earthship forums, natural building communities, and alternative housing groups. Attend a workshop. Visit a completed build. Make friends with people who have done this. That human infrastructure is the foundation under your foundation, and without it even the best design, the best land, and the best budget plan is not enough to carry you through what building your own home from scratch actually requires. If this gave you real and useful information, please hit the like button because it helps this content reach more people who need it. Subscribe for more honest deep dives into alternative building and off-grid economics in 2026. Drop a comment below and tell me where you are in your journey and what your biggest question is, because I respond to every comment personally and your questions shape what I cover next. See you in the next one.